another evidence that's brought to the table is there are many New Age whatever you want to call them, channelers that claim to channel beings from outside of our planet. Okay, and they're not talking about dead spirits. Many of them call these beings like interdimensional or extraterrestrial, or you name it, ascended masters. They call them beings that are kind of like intergalactic beings. Okay, so yeah, I know it sounds like it's straight out of a movie. This is interesting, though. They actually believe that they are channeling not dead spirits, not demons, but intergalactic beings with information from outside of planet Earth, a lot of times interdimensional. Interesting stuff. Now, very occultic, and no surprise here, but in nearly every single one of these channeling encounters, they all kinds of books, always writing books about it. But most of these encounters, these beings will go after Christianity. They will not knock any of the other faiths. If they talk about religion at all, they're always taking a shot at the Christians. Go figure, right? Strange. But just to give you a little sampling, you got to admit, this is bizarre and obviously not of God. And you know what I mean by channeling, right? They put themselves in a trance-like state, and then they speak forth what these entities, these beings, tell them to say. This is very occultic. Again, this is not good. We have people like, for example, Daryl Anka. He channels a being who claims to be an extraterrestrial named Bashar. And this being Bashar says he's part of a civilization from Assassini. Oh boy, in a parallel reality. And so, we have Lee Carroll, who channels a being called Chiron. Chiron works for the Magnetic Service, and he is responsible for constructing the magnetic grid of the Earth. But again, this Lee Carroll guy, he's got a bunch of books. He's got a lot of different material, content that he's produced with this Chiron entity. We have Patricia Corey, who channels the Syrian High Council. So this Syrian High Council is six-dimensional beings dedicated to the transformation of human consciousness. Oh boy, I got to read this to you. I'm getting this from a website that has a list of modern channeled texts, but they say of Patricia Corey, it says, Patricia's fifth channeled book came to her from the great whales and the dolphin beings of Earth, brought through their ascended elders, a committee of Cetaceans who sit on the Syrian High Council representing their vast communities, not only on Earth, but across many fields of physical reality and many dimensional frameworks. She started receiving these messages in November 2008, and then it gives a list of some of the messages she's received. So to Patricia Corey, we say farewell and thanks for all the fish. And so moving on, we have Aleister Crowley. Now, this guy, good grief, refers to himself as the Beast. He's long since passed on. He knows the truth now. It's a little late for him, though. One of the most evil men who has walked this planet, Aleister Crowley. In fact, I was friends with one of his ancestors. I had a friend from long back who claimed that Aleister Crowley was one of his great uncles. Yikes. And he ended up getting pretty involved in the occult as well. But anyway, Aleister Crowley channeled an entity who called himself Aiwass. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but Aiwass gave Aleister Crowley the Book of the Law. And that's the book that starts out with, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." In other words, do whatever you want. That's the law. So nothing anti or unbiblical with that, right? Okay, so Aleister Crowley channeled this guy, this being, Aiwass. And the deal was he was to sit down, I think at noon, sit down at his desk, have a pen in hand, a paper ready, and then he would just channel. And in 3 days of him meeting with Aiwass at noon, he finished an entire book, channeled the whole book, the Book of the Law. And these messengers gave Aleister Crowley all kinds of wicked messages. For example, they communicated to him that the age of Osiris was ending and the age of Horus was beginning. But in order for the age of Horus to come in, first the world had to be bathed in blood. And a world war was supposed to take place. And they talked about the superhumans, basically these people who, in a sense, served Satan. They reject, they condemn old religion, pacifism, humility, democracy. I mean, just about anything that is considered either good or at least okay. Democracy, okay. I would prefer a republic. But anyway, let's not talk politics. My point is that these beings would tell Aleister Crowley all kinds of wicked messages. For example, here's something else they said. "Let my servants be few and secret. They shall reign over the many and the known." It also mentioned that the lower races would be humiliated and condemned, and that these superhumans were to show no mercy. So all that to say, they weren't very nice guys. Now, one of these messengers goes by the name either Lam or Lamb. I've heard it pronounced both ways, so I honestly don't know. But Lamb, we'll just call him Lamb, long before the Roswell crash in New Mexico, you know, the old flying saucer that got hit by lightning, or so the story goes, and it crashes in New Mexico, Roswell, and they've supposedly find some little gray alien bodies around the wreckage, some dead bodies. And that's where the whole image of the little gray alien, you know, the little short guys with the big heads and the big black eyes, those guys, that image got really popular back then. That's when it really went mainstream. Well, before that crash, long before that crash, Aleister Crowley drew a picture of this Lam or Lamb character, one of his messengers that he channels, and the picture looks strikingly similar to these gray alien pictures that you see all over the internet. That's interesting. Is there a connection there? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and move on. We have the woman Esther Hicks. She channeled an entity who calls himself Abraham. She's got her books, The Teachings of Abraham, and she focuses a lot on the law of attraction. I've talked about this many times. I bring it up in the series, The Word of Faith Exposed. I also brought it up in the Jediism series because they're into the law of attraction. Eventually I'll do a series, a short one at that, on that book, The Secret. This is the same thing. The law of attraction is just the whole idea of using your thoughts and your words to supernaturally change the world around you. So by confessing your beliefs with your mouth and believing those beliefs in your mind, you make them reality. So if you decide you want a Corvette, you just start confessing your brand new Corvette and you believe it and you think it, and you influence those cosmic energies to work on your behalf and bring that to you. You can do that with health, you can do that with wealth, and it's witchcraft. It's in the church, guys. It's in the church. We're bringing this junk into our church, and it was channeled by some, let's just say it, some demon entity that called itself Abraham, by this Esther Hicks, who, well, clearly was into the occult and New Age beliefs. There you go, guys. That's where it comes from. So moving on, we have Jeffrey Hopp, who channeled Tobias. He also channeled some of the Ascended Masters. I don't know if I'm ever going to do a series on these guys or not, but I'm definitely going to cover them in some various series in the future. But there are people all over the place, and going back a couple hundred years now, have been channeling these beings who call themselves the Ascended Masters. And there's a whole group of them, really. It goes on and on. There's really a whole group. But he claimed to mainly speak to Saint Germain and Cthulhu. And these are just two of them. There's and I'm just kind of doing this off the top of my head, but there's some other Ascended Masters like Sananda Emmanuel, who likes to impersonate Jesus. There's a Mary-esque one who kind of claims to be Mary. Alice Bailey claimed to be one of the Ascended Masters. We have Deja Cool, which I believe was channeled mainly by Madame P. Blavatsky. It's just, oh boy, it goes on and on and on. There's a whole bunch of them. And it's almost like the Catholic saints in a sense. They all kind of have their own special abilities, special powers. And people try to communicate to them, pray to them, call upon them, channel them. But anyway, this Jeffrey Hopp guy, he channeled Saint Germain and Cthulhu. Moving on, we have Wendy Kennedy, who claims to channel the Pleiadians. That's right. She talks to the Pleiadians. She mainly does this for hire, though. She channels these beings who give people advice, so she's more in it for the money. We have people like Tom Kenyon, who channels a being called, or who identifies itself as Hathor, or Hathor. And check this out. This is actually what, this is a little excerpt from what this Hathor character says. It says, "We are the Hathors. We are masters of sound and love from an ascended intergalactic civilization." See what I mean, guys? I mean, this is everywhere you go. As we once assisted in Egypt and Tibet, we have returned to assist in humanity's current potential evolution. We come in love with the sounding of a new dream reality for your Earth. If you are ready to build the new world, we invite you to join us on a journey of the mind and heart. So they are fun-loving, kind, intergalactic beings who just want to bring us to our next level of evolution. And you're going to hear that a lot through many of these ancient astronaut type groups. You're going to hear this whole idea of, if you're ready, we're going to bring you to your next level of evolution. That is a concept that repeats itself over and over and over. So anyway, I'm spending a little bit too much time with this, but it just keeps going on and on. We have Laura Knight Jadzik. We got Barbara Markiniak. I don't even know if I'm saying her last name right, but she's channeling the Pleiadians too. I don't know if she claims that these are the same entities that Wendy Kennedy that we just talked about is channeling, but check this out. These Pleiadians claim that they're here to assist humanity with the process of spiritual transformation in the years leading up to December 21st, 2012. That's this year, guys. That's like tomorrow, just about. I mean, we're right there now. Do I think something's going to happen on the 21st? No, not really. But I think it's interesting to note that, and I don't have this in front of me here, but there are cultures all around the world that have been looking towards this December 2012 time as some kind of great time of change, where, and a lot of them are expecting some being to show up. To the Mayans, they were looking to, or to the Aztecs, they were looking to Quetzalcoatl to show up. It's interesting. The Hopi had some myth that they believed that something was going to happen in 2012, some awaited God figure would show up. It's just interesting that we're coming up on this 2012 date. I think everybody's going to get proven wrong here, but nonetheless, Barbara Marciniak, these Pleiadians claim that they're here to assist us during this time.